First off, let me start off by saying thank you to Graham High School senior Michael Guzzi for the video intro. And next, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to the first ever episode, Season 1, Episode 1 of the Graham Fan Podcast, brought to you by Graham Sports Network. If you've ever been involved with Graham High School, whether you're a former player or a former student or you work in the community, you hear the word family a lot. And I know it can be cliche and thrown out there pretty consistently in other communities, but what we're wanting to do here is just shine a light on people that are a part of the Graham family throughout the community. So this Graham Fan Podcast is going to kind of bring us together and bring the community together, and we're going to spend some time just diving into the people's lives that kind of make this whole thing go round at Graham High School, or whether it's dealing with sports or just cheering on the G-men and G-girls. I have the athletic director here today. We got coaches. We got mega fans that we're going to have on the show. So we hope that you enjoy it. We thank you guys for all the support that you've been showing at Graham Sports Network. And welcome to the Graham Fan Podcast. And with that being said, we want to welcome athletic director Matthew Dixon. Coach, thanks for coming on.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And you know, I've been doing this for a few months now, and I thought whenever the YouTube thing was coming along, you were the perfect guy to be a part of this. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. You're doing an outstanding job, and I know you're doing a lot of stuff on social media right now, and interested in starting up a YouTube channel, and you're excited to get this thing going, and we're excited, and I'm excited about the job you've already been doing. So I'm excited to see what the future holds of the Graham Sports Network.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm just going to kind of dive into your life before coaching or life before Graham, life at Graham, and some things. So where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Union, West Virginia. That's in Monroe County. Went to James Monroe High School, graduated from there, and went to Concord University, graduated with an education degree, and now I've been in Tazewell County now for 19 years.
Cool. So when you were at James Monroe, what sports did you play, positions?
I played quarterback in high school, played football. In the wintertime, played basketball, and then pitched and played shortstop in baseball. And I probably was a better baseball player than I was a football player, but I was so competitive in the three sports and had great guys around me that we were successful, luckily, in everything we did.
Yeah. You were telling me a little bit earlier about, so you were all district, all region in baseball, and
correct.
You were undefeated in a football season?
Yeah, we had two undefeated seasons in 98, 99. I had a very good running back. A lot of people will know in the area, Ben Thornton, and God rest his soul, he's passed away now. Passed away from COVID there a couple years ago, but loved him to death. I had a great supporting cast. Still keep in touch with a bunch of those guys. Play golf with those guys over in Fountain Springs, and invite them over here to Fincastle some. But yeah, we had good teams. Advanced to semifinals each year, and we lost to a team some folks may know, Randy Moss's high school, DuPont.
Oh yeah.
Out of Charleston. Then
Jason Williams.
That's correct, Jason Williams, and we lost to them, and then we lost to eventual state champion Wyoming East in the semifinals in a great game up in Beckley. But we had some good teams there, like we do here at Graham.
Yeah, definitely. What's your favorite memory as a player from high school?
Just competing. I think our big rivalry back home was probably Greenbrier East High School out of Lewisburg. You know, we were the country kids. You know, no stoplights in the county type, and they were the city, and beating that bunch anytime was enjoyable, and that's why sometimes we'll occasionally scrimmage them in a few things. I know a couple guys over there, and we scrimmaged them actually in football this year down at Summers County High School. So that was a great memory, and just getting to compete on a daily basis, and the relationships you form. Whether it's on the bus ride, in the locker room with your teammates, and those are bonds that'll never be broken.
Oh yeah, me and my friends hang out all the time, and we always talk about those old high school sports. And I want you guys to pay attention. The favorite thing that he misses, or the number one memory from high school, was competing, and we're going to dive into that competitiveness here after a while. So, but before you got to Graham, I know you've been in Tazewell County and other areas. But before that, did you grow up thinking that you wanted to be a coach or an AD?
I did. I did. I knew I wanted to coach. Now, athletic director never crossed my mind probably until 2012,
Yeah.
2013 when I was here. But always wanted to coach. I spent some time coaching. Little league growing up. I coached little league football, little league baseball. Uh, did my student teaching and coached varsity football, offensive coordinator in Blaine County, and started there when I was doing my student teaching. Then got into Tazewell County, and I've coached a little bit of everything.
Yeah, cool. So what year did you come here? 2012?
I came here in 2009.
Okay,
I come
okay,
here in the fall of 2009. I spent my first 4 years. I'm finishing my 19th year this year. Got my first job. I lived up here in Bluefield, but drove to Richlands every day, and coached golf down there at Richlands and coached junior varsity softball down at Richlands.
okay. And when you got here, did you get right in? I know you've coached almost every sport. Did you get right into it when you got here?
Yes, I did. I become the head golf coach in 2009. Of course, we won the school's first state championship in
Mm-hmm.
2013. We had some really good teams. I coached golf up until the fall of 2015 when I started helping Tony and become the offensive coordinator here for football. And then I was the head baseball coach in the spring of 2010
Yep.
and did that for 4 or 5 years.
Yep. So, yeah, you brought the first ever golf state championship to Graham High School. I know you had some really good teams. Um, just talk about some of that.
Yeah, we and those guys know that we won it in 2013. The kids won it. I rode on the golf cart, but they did an outstanding job. I had Ben Ramsey on that team, Zach Toohey, Jacob Britton, William McGuire, just to name a few kids that were on that team. And it's always good to see those kids. But I got a team in 2011. Morgan Brewster, Ben Taylor, those kids were actually scored better than my state
Yeah.
championship team, and well, some things switched around and some schools switched around, and when we finished third in the state that year in 2011. But that was probably my best team that I'd had here at Graham. They were probably about 15 to 20 shots better as a group than the actual state championship team. But I love all the kids I've coached, and now they're grown men. It's good to see
Yeah.
them out in the
Yeah.
community and whatever sport it was. And yes, we remember winning the state championship, but I can look back at those '09 teams. Matt Morgan was on that team. Um, Aaron Gillespie, who's now in
Oh yeah.
politics in Tazewell
Mm-hmm.
County, was on that team. So I have some good stories, and I remember the stories and relationships and
Right.
a good bit from those teams.
Yeah, I think one of the things that people don't understand when you're a coach, I think when you're a teacher first, I mean, you have a special kind of want to have form a relationship with these kids, uh, and you get that. I mean, in the hot days of the off season, in whatever sport and practice, and kind of just the grind of a season. But yeah, you win a state championship, and if you're successful in the win column, yeah, you definitely form some relationship with those kids.
Absolutely. And those kids were ready before I got here. Those kids had practiced over at Richwood with Mike Miles back in the
Yeah,
day, and did some
yeah,
stuff over there at Richwood and played. And those kids were. It was easy to motivate those kids. It didn't take a lot to motivate
right,
those championship teams.
yeah. Um, so I've done a little bit of coaching, and I don't ever think I fully realized just what goes into being a coach at the high school level.
Yes.
What was one big thing you learned when you first got into coaching?
Treat everyone the same. It's not just your job to coach; it's your job to clean. I was out earlier around the high school trying to clean up trash around the high
Yeah,
school. It's you're everything. You do a little bit of everything. You do the laundry. Uh, you pick up trash. You help the janitors. Treat people with respect, and they're going to help you out. That's the biggest thing I learned. It wasn't just about the coaching part.
yeah,
There's so much more to it, um, and it's a full time job, and it's a thankless job.
no joke.
It's a thankless job, and people, especially at the high school level, whether it's in athletics or whether it's in academics,
Yeah,
they do it for the love of the kids and for the love of whatever they're doing, not for the financial gain.
yeah, definitely. So what all state championships have you been a part of? You mentioned golf. Got a
Yeah,
couple in football now.
yeah. Well, I got a couple in football as athletic director. The running joke with Coach Palmer is every time I quit, then they win a
Yeah,
state championship. So he was tickled to death last year when I quit because they won a
yeah,
state
yeah, of
championship
course.
again. But no, I've been around with Coach Palmer, he's won 2 state championships since he's been the head coach here in 2015. We
Yeah.
played in the state championship and got beat by King William
You were the
there.
OC for that one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, no, I was just the quarterbacks coach for
Oh,
that
okay,
one.
okay.
I was quarterbacks coach for that one. Coach Palmer's been doing a great job with that. But and you know that's virtually it. I got 3 rings, but really that one in golf was special to me as far as me being a head coach. And
Yeah.
but the 2 others that you know Tony graciously gave me 2 rings for being an athletic director, and I still feel a part of it. I try to go out there, and I miss coaching a good bit, but he's doing a fabulous job, and
Yeah.
his staff does a great job.
I was thinking about earlier when I was kind of typing up some of these questions about that runner-up game. And the first person that pops in my mind is Zach Blevins, and
Absolutely.
one of the gutsiest playoff performances. I mean, for was it about a month, 3 weeks? I mean, he was basically
Yeah,
playing on a
he's
broken
one of the
leg.
toughest kids I've ever coached
No
in my
joke.
life, and willing to do anything for the team. He was a team first guy. He wasn't about himself. Uh, Put on a great performance against Bluefield, running the ball earlier in the year when we beat Bluefield, and then he ended up hurting his leg, and I can't remember
Yeah.
the game he exactly hurt. It may have been Appomattox, it may have been somebody else. I forgot, but what folks don't understand, he played on a broken leg for about 3 games at least, and
Yeah.
he goes in there to the state championship game, and what he went through just to get prepared for that game to play what was amazing, and a testament to that kid. He is one of the toughest kids I've ever been around
Yeah.
in my life, and I love on my end his competitiveness for it. But at the same time, I could not believe what he was going through to do it. I don't know if I could have did it,
Yeah.
and but Zach will always hold a special place, I think, in the Graham High School's coaching staff
Yeah.
and Graham High School's heart for
Yeah.
the performance he put on.
There's that word competitiveness again.
Yes.
And you know, I mean, you probably won't like this, but whenever I was watching that, I was thinking Byron Leftwich,
Yes.
old
Yeah.
Marshall,
Absolutely.
Thunder and Herd.
Yes, carrying him down the field in the bowl game, I
Yeah.
believe it was against someone, and I remember that game. And Byron Leftwich was a heck of a player. But uh, we have competitive kids. That's what makes Graham High School
Oh
great.
yeah.
And their parents are competitive, and they're willing to put their bodies on the line and compete for their community and their school.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other specific teams or players that stand out? Any seasons that stand out? I mean, obviously last year. I mean, 15-0, state championship.
I think
Um,
you go back to that first season when Tony took over in 2015.
mhm,
You got to think of the culture that he came into.
mhm.
Now, obviously, he was assistant coach on that, but that 15 team and going down to James River and upsetting James River in the first round of the playoffs. We were the 10 seed, they were the 7 in the playoffs at that time. The way the playoffs worked, and it was cold that night at James River, and we had a bunch of guys. We turned it around mid-season. Roman Workman was our quarterback. Uh, we had Jamorie Cousin, we
Oh
had
yeah.
Ben Mead, and Kanan Looney up front, Jared Brown, some of those guys, and we're just getting them to believe. And we saw the wheels come on about, and the light bulb come on about halfway through the season there, and to go down there and win that football game. And you got to think the year before they went to Gate City and got beat by 80 points
Yeah.
in the playoffs in 2014. So
Mhm.
the program wasn't exactly in a terrific spot there. And Tony comes in, and we go down as a staff, win that game. That was one of the best rides home. I remember
Yeah.
riding home with Coach Gray on the way home, and Coach Goins, and we stopped by Krispy Kreme in Roanoke, and that was the best midnight donut I'd ever eaten in my
I
life.
believe it.
And then we went down to Union the next week, and they had a guy, you know, a lot of people know James Mitchell,
Oh yeah.
and he
Yeah.
made an unbelievable play in the end zone. We were right there, run a screen pass there at the end of the first half, and we fumbled there at the goal line. We were right there with them through most of the game until the mid fourth, and they pulled away, and that's when, you know, Tony did a great job. I give him a lot of credit. He gets kids to believe in him, and he had
Yeah.
those kids believing then, and when I was coaching, and that was a great memory. And we went 6-6 that year.
Yeah.
But that's one of the funnest memories. You know, I'll remember that season just as much as, you know, some of Tony's 15-0 teams,
Oh
or
yeah.
his 15-0 team last year. I'll remember that, um, and then, you know, I got to coach. You know, it's fun coaching the Ben Meads of the world and the Cameron Allens of the world.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
those guys
Yeah.
make you look really good as a coach
Right. Yeah.
in a hurry. But that's a special moment.
Yeah. Um, and we're going to kind of talk a little bit about that culture here in a little bit. I know Tony Palmer. I mean, he coached me in basketball, and I even remember um, just playing for him in basketball when he was assistant with Coach Carlock. I mean, he would talk about the things that he wants to do whenever he became a football coach. And I mean, if you've ever played for Coach Palmer, then I mean, you heard it all the time at practice. and it's no surprise that they're successful right now.
No, absolutely
Um,
not.
so I know it's a lot different, but between being a coach and an AD. Um, and I think as a coach, like you said, with golf, with that state championship, I mean, you are the head guy of that specific team. But with when you're AD, well, you're with football and volleyball and golf and soccer and tennis and baseball and softball and all the sports.
Hmm.
Um, how different is there more pride in winning? Do you feel those losses a little bit more?
I think you do. I think, and you got to forget, can't forget the academic stuff. We have theater, creative writing, yearbook. That's
Hmm.
VHSL related that we deal with here through the Virginia High School League. But I think the ultimate goal as an athletic director is putting your kids. You want what's best for the kids
Yeah.
and the student athletes here at the high school, and putting them in positions to be successful. And that is getting people around them as coaches to help them be successful, like a Coach Palmer, like a Coach Baker, and I can go on and on. We have a bunch of workers right now at the high school level as far as head coaches, and they're doing a fantastic job motivating our kids in each and every sport. And as long as we operate and get kids, going in the right direction, I got to get the officials there, get them there. Uh, uh, but the main goal of being an athletic director is just uh, making sure our kids are successful and they have a great high school experience.
Yeah, and I know. I mean, if you're around the school at all, we all know that you have a lot on your plate. And I know. I mean, and you are the best in the business.
Appreciate it.
And you ask any of these coaches, and they're going to say the same thing. And I think just everything you do and just everything you go through, you give these coaches a lot more freedom to really focus on their players, the sport, their assistant coaches, whatever. So we all thank you for that.
I appreciate it.
Um, but yeah, so competitiveness.
Absolutely.
We were talking a little bit about what Tony Palmer and kind of bringing that kind of culture to Graham. I mean, with the football team, someone told me this a couple years ago. The One of the biggest differences that Coach Palmer has brought, and I'll talk with him about this too whenever I have him on the show. Hopefully, he'll join us. But it doesn't matter who you put out there. It could be the Cleveland Browns. It could be the Kansas City Chiefs. It doesn't matter. You're going to have a locker room full of 18-year-olds that believe they're going to win whoever's on the other side of that field.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's the ultimate goal. I think when you go into anything, if I want to be the best at whatever I do, whether it's
Oh,
being
yeah.
an athletic director, whether it's being a coach, and I think that's what our coaches do. I think that's what Coach Palmer does. And he wants to win. If it's out playing cornhole, he wants to win a cornhole.
Yeah.
If he's playing pool, he wants to win a pool. If
Yeah.
he's playing a game of cards, and I'm a little bit different. I'm not the greatest loser in the world.
Yeah.
I'm what one would call a sore loser, and I struggle sometimes at home playing board games because
Yeah.
I don't do things just to enjoy the game. I enjoy game.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing things to win.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's. I may be old school in that approach, and some may call it salty, but I believe if you're going to do anything, you might as well do the best
Yeah.
of your abilities.
So where did all that start? That competitiveness.
I think from my cousin years ago. His name's Mike Evans. He's from a little place many people probably won't know about it, but Pickaway, West Virginia, Monroe County. He's my cousin. He was my little league baseball coach along with my father, and they were very competitive individuals. And when I was playing little league baseball, little league basketball growing up, and they wanted to win, and I could feel they wanted to
Mm-hmm.
win, and that inspired me to be a winner. I remember I was in third or fourth grade. I can't remember. It was my first time playing little league basketball. I jammed my finger, dislocated my finger. I can't remember. I was old Union High School of all places, and I ran over to my dad who was coaching on the bench, and I went over to
Yeah.
cry to him, and he said, "What am I going to do about it?" And that kind of put it in my brain that what, I don't need to make an excuse. I need to go out
Right.
there and
Yeah.
compete.
Yeah. So installing that competitiveness and that culture. I know that word gets thrown out a lot, but um, how do you do that as a coach? What did you find successful? And I know golf is kind of, I guess they call it the gentleman's game.
It is.
How do you install that competitiveness with those? You mentioned that. I mean, you didn't need a lot of it with
Well,
those guys.
you learn to compete in practice. You make practices harder than whether it's a match in golf, whether it's the game in football. You make practices ultra
Yeah.
competitive, and competition breeds competition. You can't let your good players get complacent.
Hmm.
And when we were for instance, in golf all the time, we competed for seeds weekly,
Yeah.
and I don't care if you were the best player or the worst player. and good stories about some of those teams and some of these kids that hopefully listen to this will. Well, the young men now that listen to
Yeah.
this, they remember this. They were 7 or 8 seed going into uh, the regular season and got to make the trip and play in the state championships for me in golf because we were competing every day. You can't get complacent. You always got to master your craft, and you got to understand, what makes one kid tick doesn't make another kid tick. You got
Right.
to learn that kid and build a relationship with that kid and find out what motivates them.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to it.
Absolutely.
How different is it than AD? Because I know when you're a coach, you kind of, I mean, I think the kids and teams are kind of like a byproduct of who their coach is. How do you do that with being the athletic director?
Well, I think you can't. A good leader does not micromanage,
Yeah.
and the coaches know this. I'll support them until I can't support them, and they give me a reason not to. So I don't micromanage. I try to think like a coach. I try to think like a student athlete and a parent at the
Yeah.
same time when I'm doing scheduling or anything like that. I think the coaches have a large voice in what we're doing here. I ask their opinions, and I think if they feel like they're part of the family, then they'll do more than what is just on paper.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you motivate coaches. And you when you interview a coach, you're going to try to get someone with the a same like mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. Coach, thank you, man.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir. And thank you guys again for showing your all support. And hopefully you guys have been following us on Facebook or Twitter or even subscribed on YouTube. If you guys have any ideas on the content that you want, I know that I want to kind of have some kids get involved with this and get coaching interviews, whether it be pre-game, post-game interviews, or if it's just like a preseason report, mid-season report, anything like that. But if you guys have any other ideas about what you guys want to see, um, leave a comment in the comment section, message us on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Just let us know what you guys think. So thank you guys for all the support. We've gotten to about 900 followers on Facebook in just about 7 weeks. So we thank you guys for everything and stay tuned for the next one.